each other through it. Come on and see, good movement draws good movement.
Welcome to Good Movement Draws Good Movement, the podcast where farmers, ranchers, and rural folks can grow relationally through awareness, understanding, and effective communication. Hey, it's T. I'm your host, and I, along with my guests, will be covering topics related to drawing good movement. Things like self and social awareness, brain science, positive psychology, extending grace, and so much more. We'll share tools that can help you understand why you are the way you are, why others are the way they are, and how you can use that to step out of self-told lies with grace and compassion to draw good movement in conversations, relationships, and life in rural America. Let's go draw good movement. Welcome back to the Good Movement Draws Good Movement podcast. Today, we have a guest with us, Lydia Van Aken from Breaking Ground. Lydia grew up in Central California and started riding horses at 8 years old. Despite not coming from a Western or equine background, she found roping in high school. She went on to qualify for both the high school and college finals and eventually traveled all over the country working for different horse trainers. Lydia spent 4 years as a rodeo coach at the University of Wyoming and then taught private riding and roping lessons. Today, at 34, she lives in Yoder, Wyoming with her husband, their toddler, another little one on the way, 12 horses, and 2 dogs. They are a family, always on the move, heading to rodeos or roping. Faith is her first priority, followed closely by training young horses and roping. Over the years, Lydia has gained a deep appreciation for high performers in all aspects of life. She loves learning and helping others overcome performance barriers by building a strong mental foundation. Welcome, Lydia.
Thank you. And thank you for having me. What an honor.
Yeah, my friend Jill actually works with you, and she said, Lydia would be great for the podcast. And I was like, I agree. So then I reached out. I gave sort of the formal bio, but would you take a minute and tell us a little more about you and kind of how you got to where you are today?
Yeah, absolutely. So I grew up in really not a Western family at all. My dad was a pharmacist. My mom volunteered in ministry. And, I thought I grew up in a fairly normal family. I had 2 older brothers. They ran track and field. And when I got into rodeo, I started learning the fundamentals and learning, this is the way that you swing. This is the way you need to sit on your horse. This is the way you need to ride in the run. And I didn't ever, I think that's pretty normal for someone that's learning. And then I started running into these people who had these crazy outlooks like, hey, you can do this. You should believe in yourself. You can do this. And I had never heard anything like that before. And so when I went to college, I actually struggled. By the end of my high school career, I had won a whole bunch of stuff. I'd won the state finals. I'd won the all-around trailer, everything that I had in mind to win. I went to nationals. And then I got to college and I fell apart. I didn't know what to do. I was in a whole new atmosphere. I went a couple states away. So I didn't know anybody. I knew one person when I went to college. And so then all of a sudden I'm thinking, I have to prove myself. I've won all this stuff, but gosh, I don't know anybody. So I got really uncomfortable and I didn't know what to do. And so my freshman year of college, I struggled quite a bit. And I transferred my sophomore year to a school. I actually went to school for Lindsay Sumner. And she told me, you have to believe in yourself. And I'm like, I've never heard that before. How do you get to where you believe in yourself? I don't know how to do that. So that was really eye-opening for me. And I'm like, what does this mean? So through college, I just kept kind of going. I mean, you're a college kid, you're class and rodeos, and I think I didn't take the time to look really into anything until after I graduated from college. And I got hired on as the assistant coach, and I started seeing patterns and trends going, and maybe it's not just me, because up until then, I just kind of thought, well, I'm not meant to win. I'm just not a winner. I have talent. People tell me I have talent. People tell me I do great. But when the pressure's up, I don't know how to maintain under pressure. And so when I started coaching, I'm like, I don't know, I have all these students that have the same problems that I was having. They practice great. They have an enormous amount of talent. And then they show up under pressure and it goes away. So I'm like, okay, there's something to this. So I started just researching and reading and watching videos and trying to figure out, what am I missing? What are they missing? How do I help them? And so I came across, all this neuropsychology and neuroscience and just learning about how the brain works and how the mind works. And it was fascinating to me. I had no idea that that world even existed. So I just kept going. And then it transferred into my own competition. It transferred into, I hate to say it this way, but I kind of used the college kids as experiments because I'd have, a bull rider come up to me and say, "Hey, coach, what'd you see?" And I'm like, "I'm not a bull rider, and so how do I help them?" And I'd be like, "Well, what were you thinking about, or where were you looking, or, ask those types of questions because I don't know the fundamentals of bull riding." And it actually was working because they go, "Oh, you know what? Actually, man, you're right. I looked at the ground, the jump before I got bucked off." And I'm like, okay, like now we have something to work with. And so I'm like, hey, this is working. And so I started using it in the roping lessons that I was giving. Instead of just hammering on the fundamentals, I'd say, okay, what are you feeling? Like actually feel this and connect with what your body's feeling instead of just thinking, okay, I have to do it this way. So yeah, so that's kind of my journey, I guess, in a nutshell.
Okay, so that got you to where you are now with breaking ground and your performance coaching. What was, I guess you kind of covered it, but maybe was there like some sort of aha moment that you realized that the mental game was where you were called to serve these athletes?
It was kind of just a natural transition because I actually started helping some friends that, would get to talking at the rodeos. And I mean, everybody, everybody runs into things. I mean, when you're competing, everybody knows like you're going to run into something here or there. And so we'd start talking about it, strike up a conversation at the rodeo. And I'd say, hey, like, this has really helped me. Why don't you try this? And they'd be like, oh, I've never thought of that before. I've never looked at it that way before. And then they'd come back, a couple weeks later and be like, hey, that really, really helped. And what an out of the box way to see that. I've never thought of that before. And so I actually had a couple of friends that just started pushing me towards like, planting the seed of, hey, you could turn this into a business. And I'm like, really? I'm not trying to get rich off of this. I just like to actually help people. I had such a transformation in my life because of it. And so I want to help my friends. And yeah, I just kind of, the seeds started growing and I started thinking, wow, what if I could actually do this as a business and not be tied to another job, but actually be doing this because I love it and turn it into a business. And so I eventually just took the leap and put it out there. And I got a way bigger response than I actually expected because I didn't know, I thought, well, I could put it out there and nobody could even respond. I don't know.
That's the worst that could happen, but what's the best that could happen?
Right.
When did you transition from coaching and lessons more toward like, what was the birthday of Breaking Ground?
It would have been summer 2024. I just launched it on Facebook.
And now you have a website, which in your guest intake form, you're like pending. And yesterday I went to see if it was up so we could include it in the show notes. And I was like, oh, it looks great.
Yeah, thank you. That has been a huge learning curve for me. I didn't realize how much I needed to learn about technology when I launched my business. I thought, okay, I have the tools, I have the information, I can do this. And then I'm like, oh, yeah, everybody's got a website. That should be easy. This is actually the third hosting platform that we've tried. And I started trying to build it right after. I started trying to build it in 2024. So that's been a good learning curve for me.
Technology is great until it's not.
Yes, I agree.
So on this podcast, I kind of meld stockmanship principles with human interactions and mental and emotional health. And we talk about how our energy as humans can affect other humans and affect cattle and all of that. In your work, how do you see the mindset of the human athlete affecting the equine athlete and vice versa?
Yeah. Oh my goodness. 100%. And kind of complex too, right? Like there's more sides to it than just, well, if we don't feel good one day or, we drank too much coffee before we got on our horse, right? It goes so much deeper than that. It really starts, I think, with how we see ourselves and what we believe about ourselves. Because if we believe that when we get on our horse, if we have confidence in what we're doing, we're going to pass that on to our horse and our horse is going to react better to us. If we get on and we are nervous, they're 100% going to feel that. They feel our heartbeat, right? And if we get on and we're second guessing what we're doing, or we don't have clear goals and we don't know what we're trying to accomplish, that's going to affect them too, because they're going to feel that. They are a herd animal. Their reactions are going to be directly affected by what the leader of the herd is going to do. So we as the rider are their leader when we're riding them. And so, yeah, absolutely. It's going to affect them a lot. And I work with a lot of ropers and I see it a lot in the box because people will ride into the box and they don't really have a clear picture of what they want. They think they know what they want, but they'll ride in there and they'll go to, kicking and pulling and kicking and pulling. The horse is like, I don't actually know what you're expecting from me. So I work with people a lot on being really clear and intentional on knowing what you want and how to actually translate that to your horse. Because sometimes when we know what we want in our head, it doesn't always translate clearly to the horse. And then the horse is trying to figure out what we want. And then neither one of us are getting what we want. But I think that can be anywhere outside the box, inside the box, vice versa. I think it's really interesting too, how different types of horses get along with different personalities of people. I find, with my personality, I get along really well with kind of sensitive horses, almost too sensitive, that are maybe a little bit snorty, maybe a little bit watchy. My husband, he gets along with the ones that are a little bit bullish. I think we kind of all have a type.
I agree with that 100%. I ride the horses that are super aware.
Yeah.
And that's not entirely true. My husband does ride a horse that is super aware, but when we got the horse, he was kind of in the same mental and emotional space as the horse was. So they kind of came along and healed together. And that horse loves Tom, tolerates me.
Yeah.
But then on the flip side, the couple of horses that I ride regularly, they love me, tolerate him. So,
Yep. Same here.
and even the same with our dogs. When I was reading your bio and you're like 12 horses, 2 dogs, I was like, ooh, we have I don't even know how many horses right off the top of my head. But we have 8 dogs. And some of those dogs are Tom's dogs and the others are my dogs. And it's the same thing like with the horses.
Yes. Yeah. The dog thing for us is kind of funny because we've had a couple of dogs that I've never been a dog person and I keep trying to make myself a dog person. And so I'll get a dog and I'm like, okay, this is my dog. And then it will attach itself to Clayton. And he's like, I wasn't trying to steal your dog. I didn't even want to pet it. Like, I wanted it to be your dog, but it prefers him. It's so funny.
Yeah, we have had that happen one time because after that time, we have met the dogs before we bring them home with us. So we know which ones actually like us because we were into twisting rawhide riatas for a little while and I needed a stock dog. And so we found this puppy, and the guy that owned him was like, I'm up for a trade. What do you have to trade? And we're like, oh, well, we'll twist you a Riata for this dog. So we did that, and the damn dog picked Tom. So I still was in need of a stock dog.
Yes. Yep.
I'm always fascinated by that connection, like the horses to the humans and the humans to the horses. How important is that for that connection to be right away? And also, are there things that you can help your human clients with that will grow the connection with their horses? Or are there times where you're just like, maybe you need a different partnership?
Yeah. Yeah. Both, I think. Because I think one of the most important things for us is just self-awareness and being aware of how we're interacting with that horse. Because the kind of energy that we're putting out towards that horse is going to affect him so much. I've even played with it. I started colts for years and years. And now that I have a toddler, I'm trying to get away from it, and people keep sending me more colts to start. But hey, even have played with it in the round pen where, like, if, and this might sound odd to someone that's never worked with energy, but if my energy is pushing forwards, I can't get that colt to stop. And if I just relax back, like take a deep breath and relax back into the center of that round pen, that colt will stop. And I've noticed just playing this with myself, like I've noticed a lot of people around horses, they're not aware of how they're presenting themselves to that horse. And so that horse is just reacting based off what they feel. I mean, they're just survival. They're just reacting based off of their atmosphere because that's what they do to survive. But when we present ourselves to a horse in a way that, maybe we had a really long day at work or a stressful phone call or something like that, and we're like, okay, we need to go out to the arena and we need to get away from it all. And so, we've had a terrible day and horses are my getaway. Okay, well, we go out there and we can't catch our horse because we're still holding all of that kind of negative energy in our body. And that horse is reading off of that. That horse feels that. And they're like, man, I don't want to get close to that. No, thank you. Well, then our day keeps getting worse because now we can't catch our horse and we've been out there for 30 minutes chasing him around. So I think self-awareness of what we're feeling in our body and how we're presenting it to that horse is really, really important because different horses are going to react differently, right? Clayton's horses on a day like that would come up and shove their nose in your face and be like, hey, what's up? The horses that I ride generally would run around you for 45 minutes saying, you're not touching me with that energy. Makes it difficult when I send other people out to catch my horses sometimes. But yeah, I think it's huge. And being aware of what we're feeling in our body when we're around our horse really isn't something I think that's talked about a lot. I don't know. I guess because I'm in the world of it, I follow a lot of different people that are kind of positive influencers in the Western world. And I don't hear that talked about very much. So I think that's a actually really great question.
I think the only other person aside from you just now talking about it that I've heard talk about it in that way is Warwick Schiller.
Okay. Yeah.
Like, if you watch some of his older videos on YouTube, you can kind of see where the shift happened for him, where he started to feel in and heal in his body and his mental and emotional health, and then where his horsemanship has changed. He's even got a video where this woman leads him out this really high strung, like the horse is really worked up. You can see the whites of its eyes. He's really tense. And all she does is hand the lead rope to Warwick, and the horse is like,
takes a breath.
And he just relaxes. His head comes down. The tension leaves his body. It's super fascinating. And in my work, because I help humans with learning to feel and heal again, one of the questions that's pretty common is, I don't even know what I feel in my body.
Right.
So when you were talking about self-awareness, I was like, yes, girl. But also, like, animals are mirrors. So if you go out one day and you're not aware that something is going on with you, like I say, take a look at your horse. What's he telling you?
Absolutely. Yeah, they're just reacting to us. Yep. For some reason, I have this weird ability that I've always had, even before I was aware of it, that I could get a horse to be really quiet. And I didn't used to know what that was. I just thought, well, that's just something I'm good at, and maybe other people aren't as good at it. But the more I've learned about the mental side and the connection between how we manage ourselves, translating into how our horse reacts, I'm learning that when I am aware of how I'm moving, is it slow or fast? If my reactions on my horse are really fast and kind of spastic or jerky, or, how they would be if I get mad or frustrated, they start going faster, then all of a sudden my horse is reacting to that too. And I see a lot of people kind of feed negatively the horse and the rider together, because it's like the rider gets really frustrated. Well, then, their movements are really fast. And then the horse is getting frustrated. So their movements get faster. And then it just turns into this big, maybe blow up that could have possibly been avoided if the rider actually knew how to slow their movements down. Even though one of the biggest things I've learned is, even if you feel an emotion like frustration, you don't have to act on it. You can feel it and not actually let it change the speed of your reactions on your horse. And then you're going to get a better reaction from your horse, because horses don't understand us being frustrated or mad or upset or having a bad phone call before we got on their back. They don't get that. They just are reacting to what they feel. And so that was a really big turning point in my own training career of, hey, I can feel really mad and I can feel really frustrated, but I cannot let it affect how I'm reacting to this horse. And then all of a sudden, the reactions that I was getting out of my horses got way better. They got softer, they got better faster, and I was getting more out of them than I was before.
Yeah. And one of the light bulb aha moments for me was learning that our emotions are not supposed to hang with us, that they're supposed to come and inform us and leave our bodies within 90 seconds. And so what you're talking about, yeah, we can feel that. And if we process it and just let it inform us and release us, we're not going to have those ragey outbursts and displaced anger, if you will.
Absolutely. Yeah. I had a bit of a temper, probably the second half of my high school years, and definitely in college, I had a pretty good temper. So that was a big one for me.
Yeah. But it's almost countercultural, especially in rural agriculture, rodeo spaces. I think that we're not supposed to feel. Feeling is weak. So is that something that you notice, or what cultural messages in rural and rodeo communities have you noticed that make it harder for people to perform well or handle failure or just make their way through life?
Yeah, absolutely. Well, it's interesting that you say that, because I actually grew up that way. If I was crying or upset, it's like, why you're crying? Stop. That's not acceptable. That's not allowed. And so, yeah, I got really good at stuffing everything that I was feeling, hiding it, because I knew it wasn't okay to let it out. So I didn't know what else to do with it. So I just stuff it and stuff it and stuff it. And then it would pop out one day and rear its big, ugly head. And I'd have a big outburst or blow up or something. But I think that that's really common because, when you're out on the ranch, you don't sometimes have time to stop. And, I, in just my parenting conversations with other moms, it's like, you can't just stop all the time and go, oh, honey, what are you feeling? What's wrong? You don't have time. You go, come on, let's go. We have to get this done. But sometimes I think as we're growing up, that doesn't allow us a healthy relationship with our emotions and our feelings. And we don't ever learn what to do with them. Or at least in my case, I didn't. And so it's taken me a lot of years of, diving into what does healthy emotional response look like? And how do I manage that? How do I manage my mind? How do I manage my emotions? Because I didn't know what to do with them. So then they would come out at the most inopportune time that they could possibly come out. And I realized that actually was holding me back. And again, getting around people who really understood how to manage their mind and how to manage their emotions. And, at first I just thought, well, that's just a gift for them. Like that's just something that they're just naturally really good at. But the more I looked into it, the more I learned, I realized this is actually something I can learn. It's not just the way it is. It's not just the way I am. I can actually learn this and I can actually change too and become that way if I want to. And it's been a huge transformation in my life, learning how to manage that side and how to actually use it instead of just get rid of it, take it out, it's fine, and stuff it. So yeah,
Plus, it doesn't really go away. It just stays in there. When you were talking, I had the picture of a Jack in the Box come in my mind because it's like you stuff, and you're like turning the handle, and then something totally unrelated that maybe shouldn't elicit that kind of reaction sets you off, and it's like, like the little Jack in the Box.
Absolutely. Well, and actually, like the science has shown too that when we suppress or distract or stuff all that stuff down and we don't actually deal with it in a healthy way, it actually makes it stronger and makes it worse over time. And I felt that, definitely.
Yeah, you and me both, girl. I was a chronic shover downer.
Yep. I was too. Yes.
Okay, so as I was preparing for this episode, I was perusing your Facebook page and your website. And you talk about setting the conscious mind aside and letting the unconscious mind or muscle memory take over. So what does that look like? How do you get there? I mean, obviously you go deeper into this with your clients and coaching, but give us like the Cliff's Notes.
Overview. Yeah, absolutely. So our modern technology world has been wonderful for giving us tons of videos and memberships and access to basically any world champion that you want to learn from. You can get on the internet and you can almost directly chat with them nowadays, which is so amazing for our sport of rodeo. But it gives people access to so much of that fundamental information that we get stuck in our head. We go, okay, we have to do this way and that way. And we start seeking like this perfection in our runs of what we think in our head is the right way to use our body or to make our horse work or however we think that we need to make it perfect. But what that does is it keeps us 100% in our head and we don't actually get plugged in to I call it the immediate feedback in our run of, hey, this is what I'm feeling. This is what I'm reading from my horse. This is what I'm reading in the run. And those are the things that we actually need in order to move forward and get momentum and basically help ourselves and get out of our own way. Because when we get stuck in our head, we just tend to overthink everything. And when we overthink everything, we can't actually get out of that and plug back into the run. So I work with people a lot on plugging in to themselves, really plugging into what they're feeling, what they're seeing in the run, instead of thinking about how it needs to be. And that makes a huge difference in people's runs and competitions because then they feel more prepared, they have more confidence, they get more consistent because they actually know what they're after in their run instead of just having this idea in their head of, okay, I have to do it this way and trying to chase that perfection.
Yeah. I mean, I was oblivious to it too about how wise our bodies are and how much our brains like to override our bodies.
Yes.
So, I mean, it like when you were talking about that, I was like, yeah. Feel it. Yeah. What is something that you are still learning about mindset as a competitor or just as a horsewoman, human in this world?
Oh my goodness. So much. I feel like rodeo and mental management, emotional management, I think is one of those things that you never stop learning about. It's like the more you learn, the more there is to actually learn.
Yeah.
So, gosh, I mean, even this summer, I think was probably one of the hardest summers for me mentally. And, saying that as a coach with a business and stuff, it's kind of hard for me to say, but I've never tried to rodeo through my body changing. And people that have had kids will understand this, but it's like you get to a point where you actually are limited by your body, which is not something I've ever experienced before. So that came with its own completely new set of mental challenges because then your mind will start to create stories for you based on what we're going through. And it's easy to get carried away by the story instead of separating the facts and looking at what the facts are. Okay, yes, I am pregnant. This is not going to last forever. I just have to stick to what I can do while I'm in this physical condition. I can't do what I normally do because my body is changing. And it would have been really easy for me about halfway through the summer to go, well, I just don't have it anymore. I can't compete the way I used to. Basically, the Toby Keith song, I ain't as good as I once was. That was kind of coming up, and it's like it would have been really easy for me to because it was believable for me to go, gosh, I don't have it anymore. I can't throw my rope where I usually can throw because my body's not there. It's just not working. So yeah, so I had a whole new level of learning to separate the facts from the story that my brain was trying to tell me and learning how to manage all those things because I think it doesn't matter how much information you have, how good you get at managing your mind, something is still going to come up always. Life is life. And, you don't go through the same thing twice. Even if you do, you're a different person the second time than you were the first time when you went through it. And so, yeah, I mean, that summed up my summer, I guess, was learning how to separate what my brain was wanting to tell me about myself from, hey, these are the facts. Like, it's okay. The craziest thing is when I took time off from having my first daughter, I actually came back better than I did before. And I took time off, and really all I did was rope the dummy and give lessons and think about roping. And when I came back, there was actually things I could do that I couldn't do before I had her. And that blew my mind. And so I have to really make myself trust the process that it's okay. Where we're at is okay. And all we can do is move forward from here. I think that's something that I don't know. I don't think I'm the only person that struggles with that. I know a lot of the people that I work with have this sort of like where I'm at is not okay. And where you're at's the only place that you can be because you're there. So let's move forward from there. So I think really diving into that has been something that's been really good for me this summer too.
And see, I hear your story and I think, holy crap, she is growing a human, literally growing a human, and she's still roping. That's awesome.
Thank you.
If someone listening today is stuck in fear, frustration, a long season of setbacks, what's the very first small step or thing that you would have them practice to, like you said, move forward from where they are?
Yeah. Well, I think one of the most common things that we tend to do as humans when we get kind of stuck in a cycle or chasing our tail and we're trying to move forward, but we can't, whatever it is that's holding us there, we tend to sort of over focus on that one thing. And then, back to that story I was saying that my brain was trying to tell me, it's like we get so focused on the negative things, because negative emotions are stronger than positive emotions, right? And that's just the way that our brain is designed. It's like the negative emotions are going to come up and like they're there for a reason because we're supposed to give them attention. But especially if you don't realize that and you just kind of attach yourself or follow where that negative emotion is leading, it's going to take you down this whole road of negativity where all you can see is what you're doing wrong and all you're trying to do is fix it. And then you just keep repeating that cycle. So I would say the first small thing that would help in that situation is to find the opportunity in what it is that you're struggling with. Because a lot of times we go, oh man, this is really hard. You know, I'm struggling with this one thing and I've got to figure this out. I've got to get past this. I have to do it, right? But if we can take a step back and go, okay, what's the opportunity here? What is the gift in this? What can we learn from it? And how can we grow from it? How can we be better on the other side of it? It's going to give us a little bit different perspective. And it's actually sometimes going to make whatever it is that we are struggling with, it might make it a little bit smaller. Because we have a tendency to, when we look at something for too long, it grows. And whatever we think about the most is going to grow. So if you can actually catch your thoughts and go, okay, I am thinking about this thing, just obsessively thinking about it and how bad it is. Hey, let's figure out a different way to think about it. Maybe there's a good thing here. Maybe there's something that I can use. Instead of thinking about how bad it is, maybe there's something I can use. How can I use this? And find the opportunity in it, find the gift in it. And I think it'll give people just a different perspective on it.
Yeah, I think that's really hard when you're first like entering into this, like changing your thoughts, because we can't help our feelings, right? Our feelings are our feelings. They're meant to be information, but we can change our thoughts.
Absolutely.
But when you're first entering into this, or at least this is how it was for me, changing my thoughts, I was like, well, that's a lie. That's not true. But that's okay. Keep thinking the thought, because thoughts inform our beliefs and our beliefs inform our reality. So as long as I'm thinking this sucks and I suck and all the things, that's what's going to happen, because that's what I believe.
Absolutely. Yeah. And our feelings come from our thoughts, right? So if we can think different thoughts, we're going to have different feelings about it.
I have really enjoyed our conversation today, and I really appreciate you coming on the podcast. If someone is interested in connecting with you, working with you, where is the best place to do that? Where can they find you? And also, we'll put the links in the show notes, but where can people find you?
Yeah, absolutely. So probably the best way is my website. That's breakinggroundcoaching.com. There's all sorts of information about me. You can send me an email. You can connect with me that way. Or I have Facebook and Instagram also. Those are both also good options to connect with me. I think I'm on Facebook a little bit more than I am on Instagram, but I do both. So those are both great options.
And they're both Breaking Ground, Facebook and Instagram?
Yep, they're both just Breaking Ground on Facebook and Instagram.
Okay. And like I said, we'll link them in the show notes. So yeah, thank you so much for coming on. I really, really enjoyed our conversation.
Thanks for having me.
Thanks so much for tuning in. I'm so grateful for you. If you found value in this episode, I'd love for you to share with others who might also benefit from tuning in. Share by word of mouth, send it in a text, take a screenshot and post it on social media, or share however you prefer. And if you haven't already, hit the follow or subscribe button so you never miss an episode. Until next time, draw good movement.